At a glance, our country, the Philippines, may look very Western. English-speaking, chronically online, and very global citizens. From our clothes, our media, and even how we talk seem familiar to the world. But is this really our full story? Beneath the panlabas na anyo, a deeper culture quietly shapes how us Filipinos truly communicate, connect, and understand one another.
In communication, cultures may often be described as either low context or high context. Low context cultures rely on direct words and clarity. High context cultures, on the other hand, depend on tone, relationships, silence, and unspoken meaning. While the Philippines appears low context on the surface, our communication actually tells a different story.
Now, our gestures, indirect words, pauses, and emotional sensitivity, or our Filipino communicative behaviors, actually reveal how meaning is often felt rather than said. We avoid confrontation, read between the lines, and rely deeply on pakiramdam. What we choose not to say is often as important as what we speak aloud.
This is our panloob na kultura, the inner values of hiya, makikisama, and kapwa that guide how we relate to others. Behind the westernized exterior lies a deeply relational, emotional, familial, and high-context way of communicating that we also often see in our daily lives in many forms.
Hindi kita binibidyoan. Ang dilim kasi.
For this clip, we have two men discussing a road incident. We see one of them, presumably the motorcycle driver, confronting the guy behind the camera who was driving a car. This is an example of a low context conversation in which we can identify various elements relating to Filipino communicative behaviors and the concept of panloob na kultura, of which we can identify two. First is regarding the concept of accountability. We can hear how the guy in the car evades accountability by dodging around the explanation of the motorcycle rider, and in contrast, the latter is exhibiting the need to be understood despite his apparent incoherence. Third, nonverbal codes that can be seen in the video are the hand gestures and the looks they exchanged in the encounter. Lastly, the thickest barrier they were unable to overcome was the fact that they were both at the height of their emotions during the discussion, and thus were unable to comprehend what either of them was trying to say.
Ngayon po, sa harapan natin ang kapatid na Arlene. Kasalukuyan po siya na sinusubok. Ngayon po, tatanungin natin siya kung gaano po ba ang nalalaman niya tungkol sa aral po ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Magtatanong tayo ng ilan. Kapatid na Arlene, sino po ang tunay na Diyos?
Ang Ama.
Ang Ama. Hanggang kailan ka po mamamalagi sa Iglesia ni Cristo? Yan. Hanggang kailan ka po mamamalagi sa Iglesia? Ha? Ayun, tumutulong sila. Unin daw. Hanggang kailan ka mamamalagi sa Iglesia?
Ay, alam ko na.
Oh, hanggang kailan?
Hanggang leeg.
This video shows a young girl who most of us know as kapatid na Arlene. The one taking the video was asking Arlene, basically testing her knowledge as a member of Iglesia ni Cristo. At the end, he asked Arlene, hanggang kailan ka mamamalagi sa Iglesia ni Cristo? To which Arlene responded to with hanggang leeg after seeing her friend's gestures. This is an example of how high context culture emerges in the Philippines, particularly in the way her friends decided to use gestures to send the message instead of saying it directly. The two Filipino communicative behaviors evident here is the Filipinos' tendency to use pahiwatig instead of being direct, and sense of humor, with how this whole thing ended up as a meme afterwards. The nonverbal codes used were hand gestures. Lastly, the barrier here is that Arlene's friends assumed similarity instead of difference. They assumed that Arlene would have the same knowledge that they have with the gestures that they were doing.
Misunderstandings can happen in both low and high context communication, and they are not always solved through simple conversations. To address them, elements like positioning, framing, dialogue, and reflection, collectively called intercultural praxis, can help navigate different perspectives and communication styles. A third space can also emerge where people from different backgrounds adjust their identities to find common ground and mutual understanding. In scenario 1, the two men could use intercultural praxis by reflecting on their heightened emotions, reframing the incident as a misunderstanding rather than an attack, and recognizing their different perspectives, with the car driver avoiding accountability and the motorcycle rider wanting to be heard. Through calmer dialogue, taking turns speaking, clarifying observations, and asking questions, they can prevent the conflict from escalating and create space for clear understanding. A third space can emerge when both set aside defenses, focus on resolving the issue fairly, and communicate respectfully, allowing them to move past emotional barriers and better understand each other. In scenario 2, Arlene and her friends can use intercultural praxis by reflecting on the events that caused the misunderstanding and recognizing how their different perspectives shaped the interaction. Her friends assumed she would understand their hand gestures based on shared cultural knowledge, while Arlene interpreted them literally, showing how high context communication can cause confusion. Through open dialogue, asking for clarification, and explaining meanings rather than relying on pahiwatig, they can better understand each other. A third space can form when both let go of assumptions, acknowledge differences, and work together to create shared meaning in a playful and respectful way.